Good morning, seniors. How are you? First of all, I would like to give you an introduction about your school website or the virtual class here in Google Classroom. Um, by the way, it's very easy to use, and you can use two categories here. First of all, stream. You will find any notice or any new updates. I'll put it here for you, like for example, let's read number one, your homework, as I gave it to you here. I put homework one, okay, I'll give you numbers like homework one, homework two, homework three, to be easy for you to count how many homeworks do you have. Deadline, you are going to find your deadline as you see here. Write a detailed summary about the given short story, the dialogue that contains the elements of the short story, and blah blah blah. You're going to read your homework here and take care about this notice. I said for you, plagiarism will not be accepted. It means that if I give you a homework, you have to write it by your own words. Do not copy and paste because I'll know. Number two, after finishing your homework, you're going to send your homework to this official mail. It's the school official email, my school official email here, okay. After sending this one, or after sending your homework to the email, I'll check it and I'll give you marks, of course, okay. And let's agree that any notice, you are going to find it here in the stream. That's number one. Number two, if you're going to open classwork, this part here, you're going to find these files as mentioned here. All of it most probably are PDFs. AKS, it means answer key, okay. RC, it means here reading check. You're going to find some questions in reading check. SPTC, it means test 1 and test 2. SPTC and test A. Test A and test B, or test 1 and test 2. SUM, it means summary. SUMM, it means summary for the whole short story. TE, this folder or this PDF file, it means text. If you are going to open it, you are going to find the text itself as you see here. Okay? Good. Let's start by opening the text to see what we have here. Number one, we are going to start a very interesting short story, okay, which is about, we can say, a famous theme. You'll note later. The title is The Darling by Anton Chekhov. And of course, you know that Anton Chekhov is a Russian famous writer. I like this writer so much, by the way, and I like all the short stories he wrote before. We took a short story before, if you remember, in the last trimester for the same writer, Anton Chekhov, okay? Let's start the short story, which is The Darling. You're going to find the text here on page number 3. Of course, I'll not read the text for you because it's not a reading session, but let's start my presentation for you here. As we mentioned before, that Chekhov was born in Russia, so he's a Russian writer. In 1860, he wanted to study medicine but needed more money, so he began writing short stories. His father was shoemaker and his grandfather had been serf. He is known for contributing to the certain of the short story. Okay, first of all, let's start about the setting, the main setting of the short story. Of course, it's Russia because we're talking about a Russian writer. And as I mentioned here in this presentation that we can say the story is not specific about the time and place. However, it appears to be Russia during the 1800 or 18. Russian is mentioned as a place nearby the main characters' names. Okay. Number two, plot summary. Main idea for, we can say, the short story. We're talking here The Darling. Who is The Darling? Let's try to think about the title. A woman named Olenka searches for a relationship in which she can define her identity through. She invested her time and energy into all three of her husbands. Take care. We're talking about something which is very important. This character we're talking about, or the traits of this character, lack something which is very important. What I'm talking about is still identified herself and her opinions through their exceptions or sorry, expectations and desires. I mean what? If we're talking about identity, if we're talking about a character that lacks her identity, a character that lacks to determine her goals of life, a character that lacks to, we can say, determine her, we can say, priorities in life. She has a problem really in her character regarding this issue. She needs someone to help her or to guide her to determine her goals of life, or to help her how to think, how to set your priorities, and how to settle your ideas and so on. So we are going to find another characters that are going to help her in this goal, by the way. Like Olenka, as we mentioned before, is the protagonist of the short story. First of all, I'll give you a quick review about how about the meaning of protagonist and antagonist. As I mentioned for you before, protagonist is the main hero for the short story, or the main good hero for the short story, has good deeds. And antagonist, a hero as well, but we can say here not hero, we can say a villain, because he has bad intentions or bad traits. Olenka, protagonist, is a young woman looking for love and relationship to define her identity, and she is a static character, flat. How about the meaning of static character? Let's review this word together. We have two types of characters, static character and dynamic character. Static is a character that started with a good traits and ended in a good traits, or started in a bad traits and ended in a bad traits. But a dynamic character, a character that changed during the short story. For example, it started, or he started, like with good traits and ended in a bad traits, or started in bad traits and ended in good traits. It changed all the time. Like static is fixed character. He's good and ended good. He's bad and ended bad. Let's come back about our point, which is Olenka. We said before that Olenka is the main character in the short story here that has a problem in her character, which is Olenka cannot identify her priorities, so she's going to ask help from her husband. Husband 1, husband 2, and Sasha. Husband 1 is Koken. He's, we can say here, a theater owner who's looking for a companion to support him through his long journey, and he's a dynamic character, and we mentioned before what is a static and dynamic. Husband 2 is Potsovold, and from the name we understand that he's Russian, of course. He's a timber merchant who desires to be in a relationship and to be happy, and he's a dynamic character. And we have Sasha. He's a young boy, a boy his parents do not really look after him, needs a mother, or needs a one who we can say care about him. And he's a role model, by the way, in the story. We're going to see this later on. Let's move to the conflict here. And we mentioned before that conflict has different types, like man versus nature, man versus society, man versus self. Man versus nature, that a character has a problem with we can say the nature of something, like Olenka's husband death. Okay, it's nature that happened, but she has a problem regarding this issue. Man versus self, it means that this character has a problem inside his mind, or has a problem between him and himself. Like it's a problem inside his mind, and he wants to solve this problem. He's hesitant, for example, to do something, to do it or not to do it. He's hesitant to kill someone, to kill this person or not to kill this person. So it's man versus self. What do we have here is Olenka's inability to create an identity for herself, because she lost her identity. She cannot determine what she wants. There is no identity for at all. She wants to see or to search for someone to help her to identify her identity. Man versus society. I have a problem between me and my society I live in. Like Olenka's nickname, the darling. You're going to see this in the short story itself. Okay, let's move on for the theme. The theme is the main idea of the short story, of course, and the main theme here is identity loss. People, especially women, need to identify themselves independently rather than looking to please and meet the expectations of others in order to define their lost identities. I do care about this theme so much because number one, identity loss, it means that people, especially women, take care about women because we're talking about Olenka, need to identify and take care about identify, okay, because she wants to identify her identity. She wants to feel that she is independent. She wants to feel that she has identity. She has, we can say, her own personality, and she's going to seek that and to search for someone to help her to identify that with her. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation. That's number one. Number two, I do like, of course, to apply or to do flip classes. Your task today is to read the text, and I upload the text as I mentioned for you before in your classroom drive. You are going to find this document mentioned here in A, okay, darling, TE, it means text. You are going to open it and you are going to read the text from here, okay, and you have to write the main ideas for the text while reading it. And after reading the text here, the first homework, as I mentioned for you before in your virtual class, is to write a detailed summary about the given short story. And of course, I'm not talking about any detailed summary. You have to write in your detailed summary elements of the short story. I mean, rising action, climax, falling down, resolution, and take care. Because I wrote this for you, plagiarism will not be accepted. I will not accept that. You are going to write a summary and send it together. And after sending it, we can say all of you are going to copy and paste. It's not accepted. You have to write it by your own words. After writing it in a Word document, you are going to send it to my email, as I mentioned for you before, and that's the official school email, by the way. And the deadline, as I mentioned here, is 22 or 22nd of March. Okay, it's an easy homework. Please do it, as I mentioned for you here. If you want to print the files, you can click on classwork and you can print it easily in a very easy way. No problem regarding this issue. Thank you so much, seniors. Really, I do like, or I want to help you in your marks, and I want to give you a fruitful lecture. Hope that you enjoyed your time. Thank you so much, and wait me in the other session or in another session, inshallah. Thank you.